Hello, Christine. How are you today?
Oh, good. Thank you, Alicia.
I am so excited and delighted to have you as my guest on this podcast today. We've known each other for about 5 years or just over 5 years now, and I've had the experience of each other's company and being able to journey through business and life. So would you like to, for those who are listening that maybe don't know who the delightful Christine Knox is, would you like to share a bit about who you are and what you do and who you help?
Okay. Thank you, Alicia. Thank you for inviting me to be part of this. It's great. Where to begin? I am Christine Knox. I am in the online training space for massage therapists. And what do? I help massage therapists basically amplify their influence in the world through modalities and through improving their business. So I particularly have courses in remedial hot stones and in scar therapy.
Amazing. Amazing. So what got you into massage, and what got you into then wanting to help therapists amplify their influence?
Oh, well, I got into massage by my youngest sister telling me I would be very good at it. And I just believed her and let her organize me and just basically did what she told me. So she said, let's get you qualified. I'll give you a job when you finish. Everything will be good. I went, okay, great. Find me a course and I'll do the course. And she went, okay, cool. And that's basically what happened. And by the end of my first diploma, she had sold her business and moved to Norway. And I was like, oh, what am I supposed to do now? And she said, it's okay. You can start your own business, Christine. And I went, oh, all right, then I'll do that then. And that's really how that went. And the reason why I want to help massage therapists in particular is because they're incredible. They're amazing, beautiful, caring people who help so many people out of pain and stress and improve people's lives. And I think it goes unnoticed a lot of the time that there's such a power for good in the world. They really are. So yeah, so that's why I love helping them.
And what kind of modalities do you love? Like, how did you kind of develop your practice from, and I mean your hands-on practice, from, being qualified and then sort of creating the modalities that you have? What's your journey been like in that process?
Okay. So I really believe I was very fortunate in the training that I first received in that diploma in Scotland, in the fact that I had two incredible teachers on that course. That one of them had a background in somatics and shamanic healing and myofascial work, and you name it, she'd done it basically. And the other teacher, again, just as well qualified in the hands-on skills, but was just an anatomy fanatic. Incredible. The two of them together, it was an incredible foundation. So one incredibly analytical and the other one incredibly energetic and always into the touch and the deeper meaning and connection and all of these things. So having that as your first stop in the world of massage was pretty phenomenal. They had an incredible program there whereby your clinics were actually real and they were hosted by a local hepatitis C clinic. So my student days were full of complex cases, and it was one-to-one, your clinics with your teachers in the room with a real live client. So they taught us how to interview very well clients and take case histories and how to cope with when unexpected things happened in the treatment rooms, emotional releases, that type of thing, and dealing with a very vulnerable group of people who were marginalized by society as well. So having that as your student clinics was pretty incredible. When I think of it now, I just thought everybody had that. Obviously not. But it deeply prepared me for my future work and ventures into things like scar therapy and helping people with very complicated health histories, and that aspect of the clients that I became drawn to. When I left that particular school of teaching, it's a holistic school of massage, I went on to train and became a clinical and sports therapist. So it was all about sports, it was about activity, it was about clients being responsible for their own treatments, and they were really active people, and I just loved working with those fit, healthy bodies, and it was lots of high energy every single day, and I loved that as well. And that's where I thought, yeah, that's like a really safe. I don't need to work with these people who need this high level of connection and that are really in a lot of pain. I kind of avoided that for a really long time, and I was like the only sort of massage, like serious massage therapists or sports therapists, was kind of the stance I was coming from, which is really is kind of almost the polar opposite of where I am now in my clinical practice, which is like just the journey you take for these things is quite incredible, really. So yeah, so that's kind of how that all kind of developed and started. And yeah.
It's such an incredible, as you share, it's such an incredible insight into what it's like to treat really deep, complicated cases and have to hold the space physically and emotionally, and honestly not know what you're going to get every time you open the door. And then to work with high-end athletes, that it's much more, you do this, you do this, you do this, they do that, you get this outcome equals, this side equals that side, done. And then to have that kind of full 180 or 360 to go from this to that and then back to all of it encompassing. Tell us about some of the challenges that you faced in business, particularly. Like, what are some of the kind of treating complicated cases, treating sports people? I kind of know a little bit of the story because you moved countries in the meantime with all of this. What are some of the kind of challenges that you face, particularly in business?
Okay. In challenges, particularly in business, when I first started out, I was not very confident at all. Even talking to people I'd never met before, I would have palpitations about doing that. Like really, like just everywhere. I just was not confident at all. I was not confident in speaking to clients. I was not confident in my skill sets. When it came to hiring rooms and negotiating rates, I was really timid and really shy, and just was like, okay, yes, that's fine, right, bye. And I just agreed to everything. And whether it was good for me or not, basically. And that was a real challenge. It's a real challenge when you're just totally doubting absolutely everything.
Yeah.
And really not confident at all.
What sort of shifted for you? Like, how did you move through that with, like, what did you discover a practice or make a change, or just action precedes clarity, or like because you're a very confident person now and very confident in the modalities that you practice. What was the kind of catalyst for change for you, do you think?
It was definitely doing it, just it's like this weird thing. And it just reminds me like so much of gymnastics. Yeah, my kids all do gymnastics. I used to do it, but and when you watch it, say on the Olympics, yeah, and somebody comes out and they're incredible, like what their body can do is amazing, and you're just in awe of the routine they've done, and they finish, and you know, you can see that they're like finished, ta-da! And they stand all straight and they're brilliant. And then the judges put in their scores and it's like, you know, 9.8s and things like that. And they're just amazing. And everyone's like, oh, round of applause, incredible job. And then the second gymnast comes out and you think, oh, what is that gymnast feeling after that person in front of them did such an incredible job? And this was like kind of the situation I used to find myself in, because I used to be like, oh, I'm so scared of everything. And I'd be like, okay, it's almost like do or die, you know, it's like, it's this commitment. And you see it, that second gymnast that comes out when someone has totally just rocked their routine in front of them. They come out and then they just go for it. It's a do or die. And they're like, you can see them pushing themselves as far as they can possibly go. And it's going to be either a spectacular fail because they push too far and they fall, or they push so far, but they just, it's like a knife edge. It could flip either way at any point. And that's what I found myself doing. And when those gymnasts have finished and everyone's like on the edge, like you're on the edge of your seat, it's one of those moments where you're just like, and you can't take your eyes off of them. And then they finish and they stand and they go, ta-da, done. Everybody in the stadium gets up and they're, you know, they're on their feet, they're joyous, and everybody feels that elation of the success of this person because they've just shown this incredible humanness to just dare. All of that stuff is just like hanging, and people see it and they love it and they're attracted to it. And that's what I thought of every time I thought, I just don't know if I can do this. I'm just not as good as other people. Well, that might be so, but I can do my very, very best. And that's what I would just do with every single challenge. And sometimes I did spectacularly fall and fail, and, you know, but every time I did that, I learned amazing stuff.
Yeah. It's so our human nature to not want to fail and to want to stay safe. And, you know, I don't want to do that. It's too scary. I'll just stay safe over here. And I think to have the courage to be able to go do or die, you know what, I didn't get one life. I'm just going to have a crack at this. I'm going to do it anyway. It's just a decision. It's a decision to go, if I fall or if I land, I'm going to have a damn good crack at this. Yeah. And I'm sure, like I imagine that has also led you in good stead for other challenges that you might have faced along the way. But it's kind of like a burn the boats scenario. Like, I'm just going to go out there. It's very public. It's very on display. And regardless of what happens, I'm going to go, ha, at the end, and know that the crowd is applauding. Yeah.
Because there'll be some people, even if you fail, they're still like, yes, that was incredible, you know? I think I heard an interview once with Brene Brown, and what she said was, you know what? You're half dead already. I was like, whoa, that's massive.
Yeah.
And it's that sort of idea. It's definitely that idea. Yeah. And it's the commitment, you know, it's a decision. It's like, yeah, I might have a freak out, you know, who doesn't? Yeah. But then it is, like you said, it's a decision, and then it's a commit, do or die. Do it. Just do it.
Do it. Yep. Yeah. Make it happen.
Yeah.
I love that. So what, And that's such a beautiful example that I'm sure many of our listeners can relate to, of, not feeling confident, particularly when we first start. Can I even do this? Especially if you've had incredible teachers, as I did. They'd been in the industry 15 and 20 years. And it's like, I'm never going to amount to that. Like, oh my goodness, they're just so clever and they just seem to know every answer to every question. And oh my goodness. And then to one day wake up and go, actually, we've got the same qualifications. Okay. It just, the only difference is time. And there's only one way that I can do something about that. And that's stand your sacred ground, just stay in the industry long enough and you'll be not necessarily at their level, but you will be in a similar position because you will have that much experience.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So what are some other, maybe if you think, further along your journey, what are some other setbacks or challenges that you faced?
I guess moving to Australia and starting everything from scratch was a challenge, definitely. And during that time, I started working with you and James, which was great. I remember one of our first sort of meetings, you'd said to me, okay, it's be a while before you need some staff and and I was like, yeah, okay. So I went out and hired someone almost the next week, and I didn't tell you and kept it a secret. I was like, I'm too scared to tell Alicia, but I've just done the opposite of what she told me to do. And I made a real mess of it all and everything. And then I had to kind of come and go, hi, I've done this thing and I've really messed up and I don't know what I'm doing and I need your help. It was like
lesson 101.
Challenging.
Lesson 101 for me as a coach: when people don't talk to you, it's usually because they're up to no good. And I remember going, oh, James, did you know Christine had hired someone? He's like, no. I'm like, no. Okay. That's normally something that we would plan for, prepare for, okay, good, this person and this person are hiring for the first time this quarter, so we'll support them and ta-da, I'm hiring. Okay, how's it going? Not so great. Okay,
Not
great.
So great.
So what were some creative ways out of the chaos for that for you?
Creative ways out of chaos. Well, I actually kind of enjoy chaos. I actually think chaos is actually the birthplace of creativity. That's why we have brainstorming before we create a piece of art or a house renovation or even a dinner party. We brainstorm that, it's absolutely, for me, the chaos is an integral part of creativity. So sometimes I really enjoy that bit, and I might even try and prolong it by adding to the chaos.
I love your awareness around that. I think that it's important. If you're going to do it, own it, right?
Yeah. And, it just is what it is. And I think because I just enjoy the creative process a lot of trying on different, I guess, hats or outfits, or what would it be like if I did this? Or what would it be like if I did that? And that's quite chaotic. And then I can kind of look at it all. It's like I spread it out in my brain and I kind of go, oh, I like this bit and that bit. Maybe I can smush those two together. Maybe I'll get a little sliver of this idea and I'll layer that on top and this and that. And suddenly the chaos kind of falls away a little bit and a semblance of a good idea starts to appear. And then I need to test it, see if it is actually a good idea or if it's just my imagination going, wouldn't that be wonderful? So then I have to re-examine it and I kind of go back into the chaos for a little bit longer. And because I do really quite like it there. I'm just used to it. It's been a place where I have found problem solving and all of those lovely things as well. It's a place where I can kind of indulge my problem solving skills. So it's quite an interesting place to be in the brainstorm. and then the retest, and then back into brainstorming again. And then suddenly kind of dust it all down and wipe it down and have a little look at this idea, and you think, yeah, that's not too bad. Maybe it's time to actually commit to that and get super organized. And that's my next thing. I will go back to that decision making and commitment, and then organize.
Yeah. And it's like you'll take the chaos. And for some people, they resist chaos, and some people, they create chaos. And clearly you're very comfortable in the chaos, which is wonderful. It doesn't matter where you are. What matters is you know that you're there, and you can just own it and go, this is how I love to rock out. And then being able to take that chaos, take the great idea and give it legs and say, yep, it's definitely going to work. This is a stellar idea. And let's actually implement and action that.
That's pretty much where it goes. For me, how do you get out of chaos creatively? I don't really think of it as creatively getting out of it. It's a one whole process. Creativity are almost the same thing for me.
Yeah, that's fascinating. So when you think of, say, if we talk about the Hot Stones course that you created, I guess what is that a similar process that you would have gone through to kind of look at all these ideas? You share, like what was
the process? Yeah, definitely. The reason why I made that course was partly because I was feeling pretty dissatisfied with the amount of information I could impart to people in a weekend. So to begin with, I tried to impart everything, which people were just like, please stop, my brain is about to explode. And I realized that was no good for anybody. And they ended up just being so overwhelmed that they couldn't do anything. That was the learning was getting shelved. So what I started to do was go, okay, how can I teach what I want to teach on a weekend? And I wrote everything out, like a big, huge list of everything. And I realized that this is like 7 or 8 workshops. This is like a lot of stuff. I don't know if I can ask therapists to come back 7 or 8 times to a workshop. I thought, gosh, I just can't see it, I know that people do this. I know that they would come back and back and back. And I was like, it just feels so inefficient to me. And at the same time, I had my lovely staff member that I was training in hot stones, remedial hot stones. And I was making little videos and teaching her little bits and pieces. And I thought, oh, what if I smush these 2 ideas together? And what if I can impart 7 or 8 weeks or weekends worth of content online? What if I can just film all that stuff and people can just work their way through it? And I was like, oh, that sounds awesome. That would be cool. And then I was like, oh, but I really like people. I want to know how they're going with their learning and, if they've got any questions or how it's all working. And I thought, oh, I could just meet up with them once a week. And that would be great. That would be like I was there. In fact, it could be even better because they could ask me anything they liked. Yeah. I was like, oh, that sounds awesome. Yeah. Okay. This is a great idea. I'm going to do it. Yeah. And that's what happened.
I think that our ability to have great ideas and to be able to smush, I love that word, smushing, when we take this idea and smush them together. And to be able to look and go, what is expansive in this? How can this shine a light on other therapists? How can we help them to have a greater influence by having a different technique that's out there, by understanding that there's a lot involved in it, taking the, somatic things that you had learned and the active things that you had learned, plus however many years of experience, etc., to be able to take all of that, plus what you were teaching your staff member, and go, let's package all of the things that I love, including people and the anatomy and all the deep stuff, and actually just enhance the trainings to be able to, or have the trainings there to be able to enhance the practitioner experience of treating people and kind of potentize that even more. Yeah. I guess one of the things that I like to think about is agreements that we make with ourselves. So for you, if you're in struggle or you're enjoying the creative process or the chaotic process, what are some agreements that you make for yourself when you're in a wrestle or in a struggly place? What are some agreements you make for yourself?
I guess, again, that has changed over time too, for sure. As I've become more self-aware, done a lot more personal development, the struggles are less, but when they come, they can be big. Whereas previously, when I first started out and I just wasn't confident about anything, everything was a struggle. So I got used to being in struggle. Yeah. And it was like the agreement I made to myself then actually still stands to this day. And the agreement I had made then was, what can I do today to make my tomorrow better? Yeah. And it didn't matter if I was struggling every single day. If I just did one thing and it was, sometimes I remember, like, it was a really big deal for me. I'd seen some postcards of businesses advertising things in the post office window. And I'd kind of gone in and kind of almost apologetically asked, the postcards in the window, how do I get one of those? And they were like, oh, it's 50 pence for a week. I was like, oh, okay, thank you. Could I get one, please? And they're like, oh, yeah, sure, that's 50 pence. And how many weeks would you like? I was like, just 1 week, please. Because I was like, I don't know what I'll do if anyone answers my advert for massage that's in the post office window, what will I do? So I just thought 1 week's enough. So I put the postcard in the window, fully expecting nobody to call me ever, and was like astounded when I got one call, and I was like, oh. And honestly, that's actually true. It's exactly where I started. And the therapists that I speak to now, who are even further on from that place, I ask them, what was it like when you first started? And they tell me, and I'm like, that's where I was. Yeah.
Like, I think it's so true. I remember my first marketing campaign was a letterbox drop, and I was so scared when someone actually called and he asked for Alicia, and I'm like, and I hung up on him. Like, I didn't know what to do. I didn't expect anybody to actually reply. I just heard that everyone does letterbox drops if you're starting a business, so I did.
It's funny.
It's so funny. It's so funny. And I also love that you say, because I think this is actually true, when everything's a problem, there's a lot of sifting out and things to work on. And as things become more up and along and up and along and up and along, I think you're right that the more you clear out, the more you kind of, clear out personal development, mindset, working on stuff, seeing the right people, getting the right people in your corner, that things, when they do come along, they tend to knock you off your perch a bit more. Yeah. Because they're big now. Now it's like, it's not everything. It's just that one great big thing over there that's really like, okay, I thought we dealt with that. Apparently not. Going back to it. Okay, here we are.
Yeah. And that does tend to happen. And I also think that after these struggles, they lead to growth. The pattern happens, you struggle, you challenge yourself, you commit to it, you get through it, and then, wow, there's growth. And it either comes through like education or emotional regulation, being able to like not freak out so much or not be so fearful, or just it's a development of confidence, I think, for sure.
Yeah.
And that narrative, develops. It becomes much stronger, that self-talk. What am I going to tell myself? How grateful am I for these learnings, no matter how small, that have helped me to become more self-aware and value myself more, and allow me to contribute and be of service to others.
Yeah, because often our mess becomes our message.
Absolutely.
The stuff that we struggle with, the wrestles that we go through, when we use that to allow us to grow, I think that it does allow us to have a greater impact on those around us. That anything that comes along, big or small, is our opportunity to look for growth and who we get to become along the way. And I think it takes courage to have that conversation and to make that decision to, if the routine that we're going to do on the gymnastic floor is not so much the routine that is getting something big and scary out there, but the routine of showing up even when it's hard, I think that's what actually, like, that is what Viktor Frankl was talking about in Man's Search for Meaning. And it takes courage to do that, but I also think that it leads to a much more fulfilled life, because no one can take that away from you when you've got those learnings.
Absolutely. I think perhaps as well the inner strength it takes and develops deeper as well. I think, thinking of Viktor Frankl as well, I think that inner strength and faith. So he mentioned a lot that faith was one of the things he noticed that developed very deeply in people as well. So I think that has a lot to do with it.
Yeah.
Even faith in self, faith in the universe, God, whoever it is that you, believe in. I mean, personally, I just think I am never going to be given anything I don't have the strength to handle. And I have faith in that for sure. And there's a lot of stuff out there, but yeah, I think that's kind of the basis of a lot of it as well,
Knowing what you know now, is there anything that you would change or tell yourself differently?
No, I don't think so. I think every sort of challenge or struggle or anything that I've wrestled with or learned, I've learned from all of that. And there were lessons that I had to learn for myself. And, sometimes I wasn't ready for the lesson or didn't want the lesson, because sometimes we don't get everything we want. Sometimes it's not good for us. And sometimes we get stuff that is good for us that we don't want, which is even worse, because you're like, oh no, I've got this thing again. I've got to deal with that now. So yeah, I don't think I would change a thing.
Yeah. I think when we have this growth mindset lens, it's like, would you change what's happened? It's like, you couldn't give me enough money in the world. Like, as much as many times I haven't liked it, and I'm sure I won't like it in the future as well, because it doesn't change, opportunities for change and growth don't come up to you and go, oh, tap, by the way, just got a really cool thing I'd like to teach you. And I just know it's going to be really great for your lifelong lessons. And it's like, no, what does it normally do? It normally smacks you about the face and you're getting knocked off your perch and you're like, great, now I've got to figure all this out. Okay, thought I'd done that, been there, done that, got the t-shirt. Now don't realize it's a whole new level of growth. Okay, let's go do that. And I certainly wish that at times growth would just come up and kindly tap me on the shoulder and say, just FYI, a bit of growth coming up. And normally I'll realize that I'm in growth when I look around and go, oh, right. Oh, we're here. Oh, okay. Yeah, rightio. Let's giddy up then. Game on.
Yeah. No, I think we need to actually take responsibility for ourselves. And a lot of the growth lessons I've learned are in order to do that. Yeah, I think so. I've grown up a lot. Especially through the journeys with the clinics and the staffs and, all of those things. A lot of that, the challenges or mistakes or pitfalls were actually of my own doing. And at the time I was like, oh no, it's everyone else's fault. It's nothing to do with me. And now I look back at that and I'm like, oh, that's exciting to be noticing these things now. And it's kind of, it's like a bittersweet lesson. I guess the word is surrendering to as well. So surrendering into it and accepting it and actually being grateful for it.
Yeah.
And
I think that acceptance of, okay, this is where I'm at and this is what's going on and this is what I'm going to learn from it. And even if I don't like it right now or don't want the lesson or I have to get the lesson and, like whenever we have that resistance, I think inevitably when it comes around to going, okay, fine, our acceptance of whatever is happening often allows for a deeper level of understanding or a deeper level of impact on the other side of that, on the other side of breakthrough is someone else's freedom and also yours. And it's kind of encouraging to be reminded of that when you're in the wrestle or in the fight or still in the struggle.
So sometimes I don't want to be reminded of that when I'm in the struggle. Alicia, that fine well. And someone coming up and saying, seek to understand, I'll be like, oh, I'll give you one seek to understand, love. But when you can actually sit with it, you're like, oh, great.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
And that's why I think metaphors are fantastic. One of the jokes that we have is I have a purple hairbrush, and if you use a GIF to someone through Messenger, etc., if you GIF anger, you will come up with my spirit animal, and she's a 3 or 4 year old girl in a red dress with a purple hairbrush, and she's shaking and she's very angry. And it's like, if we have a hairbrush moment, that's okay. If we have an inner child having a tantrum moment, that's okay. And I think it does kind of it certainly takes away the shame from it, and it allows it to be okay to I'm just sitting in child right now, and I'm chucking my tantrum and I'm chucking my hairbrush and rack off.
Yep.
Growth is fun. Growth is fun. Repeat after me. Growth is fun. So, Christine, because of your incredible ability to stand on the gymnastics mat and do or die, regardless of whatever challenges face between you in that, particular routine, what do you think is the greatest impact that you have on the world because of how you walk through those challenges?
I did have a little think about this one, Alicia, and I think it's actually helping people who might not be as far along on their journey see themselves in what I'm doing, so that they can go, so she was where I was, or she was worse than me. I'm way ahead of her. And they can see the value in what they're actually doing. and be empowered and help so many more people out of pain and stress and all the things, and really make a difference. Really make a difference. Yeah.
So beautiful. Thank you so much for sharing your heart and your story with us on this podcast today. It's been so delightful to hear your lens at how you see the world, how you feel the world, and how you experience the world in all that you do. So thank you so much for having the willingness and courage to share that with us today.
Oh, thank you, Alicia. You're welcome.